Welcome to TEDCO's Entrepreneur Expo in downtown Baltimore, where the region's top business owners, innovators, and investors have gathered to network, grow, and celebrate the vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem in Maryland. I'm Frew with BioBuzz Networks, and I'm buzzing today with Mustafa Al-Adhami, founder and CEO of Astek Diagnostics. Mustafa, welcome. Could you take a second to introduce yourself and your company?
Thank you for having me. My name is Mustafa. I am the CEO and founder of Astek Diagnostics. About 3.5 years ago, my grandfather had a urinary tract infection, a UTI. And what was supposed to be easy fix, just give him antibiotic, it took doctors 4 days to tell him what antibiotic he should be taking. In the meantime, he was in pain, he was delirious, he ended up falling, breaking his hip, and I just watched him go from a young 87-year-old to a much, much older one, and all because the guess that the physicians had to make on his antibiotic treatment was not correct. And that is why at Astek Diagnostics, we're developing a 1-hour antibiotic sensitivity test. So directly from the patient's sample, we know if there is a UTI and then what the best antibiotic to treat the UTI with.
That's incredible. I talk to founders a lot, and so many times it stems from a personal challenge they're facing. So I commend you on that. What's the current treatment? You're developing a 1-hour turnaround. What is the current?
Right. So let's say you're showing symptoms of a UTI, you go to the physician and they look at your symptoms and then it's like, okay, it looks like you have a UTI. And so they take out some urine, send it out for a culture. The culture takes about 2 to 3 days, and that will inform if there is a UTI and then the sensitivity. So what antibiotic is actually killing the bacteria. The problem is you don't want to wait 3 days before you treat the patient. So you have to give them some antibiotics up front. Hopefully these antibiotics will work. And half the time these antibiotics don't work, and that's why you get the complications. And so for us, the idea is, hey, this is going to take only 1 hour. So by the end of the first hour, you actually know what antibiotic to give the patients without having to make a guess.
Well, that's an incredible leap forward from 3 days to 1 hour.
100%.
Mustafa, we're here today at TEDCO. Tell us a little bit about your early experience with TEDCO, how they've been part of your early startup experience.
Absolutely. So, I always tell people, I'm a trained scientist. And if it wasn't for that check from TEDCO early on, even before I finished my PhD, I wouldn't be here. TEDCO turned me from a scientist into a startup founder. And even after that, right, I always reach out to them for advice. You name the program at TEDCO, I have done it.
Yeah, TEDCO isn't just about funding, right? You just mentioned they're about programs. Could you talk about any of the programs that really have kind of stood out to you?
Right. So let's say, first thing was the MII, right? I got the check from the MII, and then there is the SBIR proposal lab. So I had never written a proposal in my life, and I joined that. We got that first grant also with the help of TEDCO. And then I realized that I had no clue how the FDA works. So they provided me an advisor, I think, let alone the executive program. And, it continued. And right now, Teddy Gresser, I think he's the director of the SEED program. I reach out to him weekly, just asking him, hey, by the way, I have this issue. What do you think I should do? And he's been very generous with advice.
That's great. The ability to have a community of experts and funders behind you as a startup founder is so critical.
So it takes a village to bring a medical device to market. Really, it does.
You're a UMBC graduate here in Maryland, so you do have some ties to Maryland. Tell us a little bit about what it's been like in this ecosystem here in Maryland, starting a med tech company.
Well, I can tell you why I came to Maryland. So before coming to the US, I was a refugee in Jordan and then in Europe. And right before leaving Europe, I was like, you know what? Let me travel. So I traveled and I went to Monaco, and I fell in love with Monaco, right? And it's all these yachts and boats and the energy of that town. I just fell in love with it. So fast forward, I came to the US and I had no idea where I was going to live. So I did a road trip. I came to the Inner Harbor in Maryland. I was like, well, this is reminding me of, that waterfront area in Monaco. And this is where I ended up staying because I really fell in love with it. And as far as growing a company here, I mean, you have the best universities in the world, right? You have Hopkins, you have Maryland. There is no shortage of talent. You have all these state programs that we use, like the biotechnology, the tax credit, right? Like our investors love it. I don't think we would be able to raise as much money if it wasn't for the help of commerce.
Yeah, that's great. So that tax credit gives investors a tax rebate for investing in biotech and medtech companies.
So it's between 33, which is what we do, to 75 if if you meet some criteria.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Tell us about where you are now or any milestones you have coming up at Astek.
Yeah. So I am really proud of this, right? We started 3.5 years ago, and we took a sketch on a whiteboard, and now we have an alpha product that is actually being used in hospitals for research. It has showed over 90% accuracy to date. And when I say 90%, the standard for the industry is like 66%. So I'm really proud of what our team achieved. It is really expensive to take a medical device to market. So right now we're raising about $15 million. That should be enough to get us to the market. And we have contracts for $30 million. So we know once we're in the market, the people are waiting. Manufacturing is being set up as we speak right now.
Well, you're raising this $15 million fund now. Is it active and open? How's the progress been?
Absolutely. So we're finalizing a term sheet with our lead. And then we have some follow-on investors who already committed, but pending that term sheet. And I think we have room for a couple $1 million still.
That's wonderful. Well, hopefully there's some people listening here that may get piqued interest in finding a company like yours that is creating such a leap forward in the diagnostic field for antibiotic resistance. And
Absolutely. I mean, the more partners we have, the more brain power. So if you are interested, even if you want to give advice on how to do this, please reach out to me anytime.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today, Mustafa. Your story is absolutely fantastic, and scientist to entrepreneur, refugee to Maryland residents, and here in the Monaco of the U.S. That's the first time I've heard that, but I love it, and we're going to use it.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, Mustafa, again, thank you for joining us today. My name is Frew with BioBuzz Networks. We're here live today at the TEDCO Expo right here in Baltimore. Thank you for joining us.